Press TV reported that Iran's air defense 3D radar can intercept 300 targets at once. SDPB News reported that TransCanada removed Keystone XL infrastructure. A good news story there. The Irish News reported that RUC Chief Simon Byrne and Fine Gael's Leo Varadkar made blueprints for joint RUC and Guard operations in South Armagh. Haaretz reported that Syria intercepted 20 Israeli F-15 fighter jet missiles from Lebanese airspace. KFGO reported that Alibaba will invest $15.5 billion in common prosperity. The Daily Mail reported that Elizabeth Saxberg Gotha Battenberg supports Black Lives Matter. The BBC reported that the DUP could quit Stormont in weeks over the protocol. And the Irish News reported that the DUP has been in existence for half a century, yet their future is uncertain. Axios reported that zombie firms make up 18.9% of US companies. These are companies which make just about enough revenue to cover and service their debts. Rasmussen found that Americans support the Texas heartbeat law by 46% to 43%. The other 11% are obviously undecided or don't know their opinion on the matter. The Sunday Life reported that South East Antrim UDA man William McTaggart was convicted of a £2.5 million a year drug operation. The Guardian reported that a firm raised $15 million to bring back woolly mammoths. Obviously, the Jurassic Park books and the Jurassic Park films just went completely over their heads. The Palestine Chronicle reported that the Al-Qassam brigades pledged to free the recaptured Palestinian prisoners. The Journal reported that Provisional Sinn Féin topped polls in the Sunday Times and the Business Post. This is bad news for Ireland. RTE reported that Free State President Michael D. Higgins did not attend the six-county state centenary service. It's about time he did something right, to be honest. Belfast Telegraph reported that evidence against those accused of killing Lyra McKay have weak evidence against them, basically. The evidence is weak. So that won't be safe convictions against them. Press TV reported that the United States admitted killing 10 civilians, including 7 children, in a drone strike in Afghanistan. And if any of Biden's supporters or his staff are watching, are you proud? Does Joe feel like a big man now? Does he? The Irish Times reported that a Roger Casement statue has been installed in Dunleary. Live Action reported that Senator Josh Hawley told Google to stop the anti-life bias on Google's censorship, and Google has crossed many lines on censorship. Republican News reported that Boris Johnson's amnesty has been compared to General Augusto Pinochet's amnesty in Queen's University Belfast's Committee on the Administration of Justice. Everyone can see what it is. It's getting British war criminals off the hook. Live Action reported that Wisconsin introduced a bill to protect abortion survivors. It's an indictment of American society that such legislation is necessary. Live Action reported that Google discriminates against pregnant employees. That says it all. Live Action reported that the Supreme Court of the United States set a date to hear a challenge of Roe versus Wade. It's about time. The Canary reported that Iraq war veterans protested George Walker Bush's war crimes. How he is not incarcerated for said war crimes it's just disgusting. The Associated Press reported that Florida introduced a heartbeat bill. Hod Yemen news agency reported that Yemen liberated Beda province, and it's good to see that Yemen have stood steadfast in the face of Wahhabi terror and genocidal bigotry. The Canary reported that Matt Hancock will have his email and WhatsApp searched in a court battle. He is finally being held to account. The Guardian reported that Simon Jenkins wrote that it is beyond stupid for Boris Johnson to open up a Cold War with China in relation to the nuclear submarine deal with the United States and Australia, which gazumped France. The BBC reported that a Down syndrome woman lost an abortion law fight in court. She argued, and her legal team argued, that it was discrimination against those with disabilities. Live Action reported that an abortionist told a nurse to ignore abortion survivor, and the abortionist said, for all intents and purposes, it's dead. The Electronic Intifada reported that Benny Gantz's war crimes case has went to a Dutch appellate. Let's hope the Dutch court rules correctly. The Irish Times reported that the Taliban banned secondary female education in Afghanistan. No surprise there. Yet I disagree with this as a raison d'etre for intervention. Had it not been for United States intervention in 1979, there wouldn't be a Taliban, and the socialists in Afghanistan would have provided secondary female education and beyond. So I'm not having any of the neoconservative crocodile tears on this issue. The Canary reported that the Department of Work and Pensions welfare cuts victims' families are still awaiting justice. United Nations called it a human rights abuse. And yet, Britain still has a Tory government. Thanks, Keir Starmer. Interesting in Engineering reported that China is testing its thorium nuclear reactor. Live Action reported that Argentina's National Academy of Medicine said legalizing abortion signals the decline of the country, and they are correct to do so. Life News reported that the FDA hasn't bought baby body parts since Donald Trump cancelled the contracts. The Guardian reported that France suspended 3,000 unvaccinated health workers without pay. That's gratitude from Macron. The Irish Independent reported that the FADA will get legal protection. Better late than never, I suppose. The Irish News reported that a loyalist bandsman punched a driver listening to the Wolf Tones. Imagine the media's reaction if the roles were reversed. We'd never hear the end of it. The Irish Independent reported that Hibernian Jerry McHugh was punched for saying a rosary at a protest against Pride. And one of the people parading with Pride went over and punched him. I'm no fan of Jerry McHugh, but you ought to be allowed to pray wherever you want. Is there no religious freedom in Ireland anymore? The Jerusalem Post reported that Sandy Cortez introduced an amendment to halt United States arms sales to Israel, yet she changed her vote from being against it to present after Nancy Pelosi admonished her. Anyone defending the Democratic Party, how are you just going to explain yourselves the victims in Palestine who have no Iron Dome to protect them? Well, how? The Cradle reported that the resistance killed United States and Israeli operatives involved in the Soleimani and Mohandas assassinations. Well, they're just getting their just desserts. What goes around comes around. Irish Republican News reported that there was anger at the BBC's failure to broadcast Tyrone's All-Ireland victory. Commiserations to Mayo, by the way, on the Sam Maguire. But the media's bias is clear. there is an anti-Irish agenda at play. The Irish Independent reported that on COVID safety protocol, why is it one rule for the elite and another for everyone else? And the elite have no answer to that charge. NPR reported that microchip drones the size of a sand grain for surveillance purposes have been developed. That's crossing a line, surely. Waterford News reported that Waterford will twin with Ramallah in solidarity with Palestine. The Canary reported that Insulate Britain blocked the M25 for the 6th time, and yet the government still haven't seemed to have gotten the message as of yet. And it's coming into winter as well. Live Action reported that thousands marched for life in Germany and Switzerland. The Global Times reported that China criticised the United States government for being owned by 1%, governed by 1%, and enjoyed by 1%. China is spot on this issue. Live Action reported that a United States district judge denied Joe Biden's Department of Justice effort to block the Texas Heartbeat Act, and they were correct to do so. NBC News reported that British Petroleum stated that a third of British petrol stations were empty. This is the recent fuel crisis in Britain. And basically ingratiating themselves to Saudi Arabia worked well, didn't it? Press TV reported that Iran rejected the baseless United Arab Emirates claim to Iranian islands. And let's be honest, United Arab Emirates would be crushed if they dared to challenge the Islamic Republic of Iran. Life News reported that Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar was the only Democrat to vote against Nancy Pelosi's abortion bill. If only Sandy Cortez had Henry Cuellar's gumption in standing up to Nancy Pelosi. The Asia Times reported that Chinese state media correctly described George Soros as a terrorist. They could not be more correct. The Cradle reported that 9 people were arrested in Lebanon in order to frame Hezbollah for the ammonium nitrate explosion in Beirut. And I'm going out on a limb here. I'm guessing the people responsible for that explosion in Beirut last year had more to do with March the 14th than they did the March the 8th. Let's be honest. The Orthodox Christian reported that pro-abortion Greek politicians weren't invited to the Australian Archdiocese Greek Independence Day celebrations, and rightly so. The Guardian reported that Ken Loach wrote that democracy is dead in Keir Starmer's Labour Party. Was it ever alive to begin with? 24% approve of Starmer, 37% disapprove of Starmer, which makes his approval rating minus 13%. Imagine if Corbyn had those numbers. Foreign policy reported that Pakistan might soon regret its victory in Afghanistan. You don't say. Live action. The abortion industry wants to use climate change funds to expand abortion. Live Science asked why aborted babies are incinerated during April 2014. The emissions from waste incineration studies showed for every milligram burned, 0.7 to 1.2 milligrams of carbon dioxide is released. So this abortion expansion in order to combat global warming is bovine excrement. It's a canard. It's baseless. The Irish Independent reported that the guards were called to a protest at Leo Varadkar's house. This is Free State authoritarianism. Let's call it what it is. Yeni Safak reported that an Azerbaijani legislator said Iran will be wiped off the map. Again, imagine the media's reaction if the roles were reversed. And finally, Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Pittsburgh did research which found that people with philosophical doctorates, PhDs, are the most vaccine hesitant group and demographic.